Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike. Today we are going to be talking about a full face of makeup from my Shop My Stash for the month of January, and I was focusing on either using some things up, going back to old favorites, and just having a grand old trip down memory lane makeup wise. I'm wearing one of my favorite sweaters for the occasion. I got myself a green juice this morning from the grocery store. So let's get started. So I almost used up my Colourpop Pretty Fresh primer. There's only a little bit of product left, and I've been struggling to get product out of this. Like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to soldier on. I want to try and get this entire bottle clear by the end of the month. I think I should be able to do it. I mean, I'm filming this a couple of days before this video is supposed to go live, and yeah, that means that I have like more than a full week of makeup wearing left before I need to film and Shop My Stash, so I should be fine. For my lips, I've been using the Catrice Plump Blur all month. This is a lip treatment that you can put on. I really like using this at the start of my makeup routine, but I found that it's not good enough to really be doing anything in terms of like lip balm, like hydration. It kind of just puts a layer over your lips that makes any lipstick go on more smoothly. Do I find it really plumping? I don't really believe in those kind of claims, to be quite honest. Like, I feel there's only so much you can do. You have what you have to work with unless you get fillers. So yeah, it does smooth out any fine lines that you might have. And in the wintertime, that's definitely something that I struggle with sometimes. Look at my face, I'm so red. This happens to me all the time, you guys, especially the past 2 months or so. The minute I touch my face, it goes bright red. This is just what happens if you have sensitive skin. There's nothing I can do about it, really. We've got, oops, I'm knocking things over. We've got eyeshadow primer, and I used mine up already. So the little rock behind the scenes primer, which was what I was using before this, is gone, and I replaced it with the Catrice waterproof eyeshadow primer. I already reviewed this over on my blog. This is a nice eyeshadow primer from the drugstore. It has a little bit of a tint, but I feel it doesn't do enough in terms of canceling out my lids completely. So I still like to double prime, but it does have a little bit of a tint. And then it's time for foundation, and I've been trying to use up the IT Cosmetics CC cream in the shade Fair. This is the regular one, not the illuminating or the matte one, just the standard one. I don't think I'll manage. I think I've got too much product left to really use it up, but it's been the only foundation I used all month, and this has been so great for the winter time. I love going back to this every winter season because it's just so hydrating, and I only need like one good pump of this to cover my entire face, which is why I love it. Right, so that's what the IT Cosmetics CC cream does for me. I love this because it's super dewy, super hydrating, and well, I'm not sure whether it's true, but it boasts having some like skincare-like properties, and I feel that I can just use all the hydration I can get in the winter time. So this has been lovely. It looks super natural on the face, and the shade Fair is a really good match for me. This has a very limited shade range though. That's something to bear in mind when you're looking into this. If you were interested in this product, IT Cosmetics is just not known for doing good shade ranges. Please change that. Too Faced Born This Way concealer, because yes, my Zoeva Authentic Skin Concealer I used up. As predicted, within 2 weeks of January, I used up that concealer, and so now I'm going to try and use this one up. Next, I don't think I'll make it this month, but I'll probably rotate this in a few times this year to try and get the most use out of it, because this is a discontinued product. It hasn't been on the market for like 2 years or so, and I still have mine. It's still fine, it's still workable, but yeah, I just need to make sure that I use this up at some point, and I've used this quite a few times. I can already definitely see like some of the packaging coming through, so I don't think this is still a full product, so I should be able to use it up within a few weeks. I'm not sure yet whether I want to keep it in rotation for February. I haven't decided yet, but help me out in a comment down below. I think I have a few other concealers that I may want to try then. And then, almost gone, my Hourglass Veil powder. So this is a loose powder. I took out the sifter, and that's why I can't really tip it over very well, but I only have a little tiny bit left. So yeah, this powder, I think I'll be able to use it up before I film my next Shop My Stash. If not, it's going to be gone within like a day or two after filming that, so I'm happy about that. And also in brows, I used up my Etude House Drawing eyebrow pencil finally. So today I will be using this for the first time. This is the Colourpop Precision Brow Pencil in the shade Dope Taupe. And then of course, to set my brows, the Essence Make Me Brow in Blondie Brows. Because what else is new with me? And then for cheeks, we are going to be using the Makeup Revolution. I always make this mistake. The Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion in the shade 20M. My shade has rubbed off, but I know that's the shade I got. This product looks so terrible. This is one of my favorite all-time bronzers, especially in the winter time. I love using this with a simple brush, but it is a little bit difficult to pick up that way. So I like to hold the brush hairs so that they don't move around too much, and then I'm perfectly capable of really giving it a good swirl, getting some product on there, and applying it to all the bits where I want to bronze up. And this is just something that I love about this bronzer, is that I can just add to it and add to it and add to it, and it will never look like too much. It's like this gel to powder kind of texture, you could say, which is why it's just shrinking. It doesn't even look like you're hitting pan. It's just sort of like slowly but surely that disc is just going to become smaller and smaller in the pan, I'm sure. So I'm trying to get as much use as I can out of this product before it becomes unusable. However, I think Makeup Forever still does this, so I could easily buy it again. But yeah, this is just looking atrocious. And then for a product that a lot of you actually said you wanted to see, at least I had several people saying in my Shop My Stash video when I asked, what would you like me to show you in my Get Ready With Me? And several people mentioned the Ofra highlighter that I had selected. So this is in the shade Pillow Talk, and it's one of their lightest, very icy highlighters. But this is like, it's not fully white because it has like a pink, not a shift. It's not a white to pink shift at all. It's just like a very soft, pearly pink shade. I believe that's also what the brand calls it. And this has been lovely. I hadn't reviewed this yet, but I've had it for a while. But this is just one of those products that I used every once in a while, but that I didn't really like fully commit to really trying just yet. And I just this is just my reminder why I love Ofra highlighters so much. Yes, they can look super intense and super metallic, but I use quite a dense brush to begin with. This is a Sigma F03, but I find that this just, I don't know, there's something about it that when I really sort of, well, not buff it, but really blend it into the skin, it still looks very natural. Sure, you could blend this and build it up and do it again, or you can do it very full on, but I just really like the diffused look that this gives. This can be done much more intensely, but I love how this highlighter sort of gives me the option to go more natural if I'd like to. So I really like this. And the reason why I went with this is because we're going for a very cool toned cheek today. And this is another request I had. Can you please show us layering your blushes? Which is what I described in my Shop My Stash. I was going to experiment with this month, and all week I've been wearing this little combo, and I'm loving it. In case you're wondering, Micah, what blushes are we talking about here? We have Wet n Wild in a Purple Haze and Bittersweet by Urban Decay. And you might think, especially because I'm wearing such a mustardy, warm toned sweater. let me show you. I do have a bit of a technique going on here because this is quite an intense blush. So I like to go in with the 127 Lux Sheer Cheek Brush by Zoeva. This is a, oops, there's a hair, like a loose hair here. I just washed my brushes yesterday, so I would have clean brushes for the video. So this is a very fluffy, angled blush brush. And I find this doesn't pick up as much product as the Real Techniques blush brush that I usually use for blush and that I use with like a blush that I can just like throw on. With a blush like this that I need to be a bit more careful with, I like going in with this because it just allows me to control the amount of blush a lot better. So what I like to do is just this. That's it. Maybe just a little bit of a swirl, but nothing too intense. And then I just like to dab it onto my cheeks, and then I use the brush to blend it up. And then I use my Real Techniques brush to swirl this on. This is very light, but it's got a bit of a glow. So I'm sort of using this as a blush topper, and it almost intensifies that pink, that soft pinky bluish tone that it has. So there we go. And that's the cheek look done. All right, so now I'm going to double prime my lids with my MAC Paint Pot and Painterly, still going strong. I keep thinking I'm hitting pan on this, and then I don't. And then I'm going in with my Calvin Klein little off-white, beigey kind of eyeshadow. And I think we're gonna see like a dent happening into this quite easily. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I feel I need a lot more product with this than in the eyeshadow that I used to use, because this seems to be a lot more densely packed. So I definitely had a few moments where I was like, I don't feel I really am applying enough of this. And then the base would still be very tacky, and then my eyeshadow wouldn't blend very well on top. I wanted to play with this. I put this in my Shop My Stash because it was like, this is my OG favorite, Naked 3. I want to do a look with this. And I'm going to do the look with this that I did the other day, which is by now my go-to look with this palette. That's what we're gonna do. Let me zoom you in and adjust the brightness. All right. And while we are doing this eye look, because as per request, I thought I could do a few eye looks from start to finish so you can see all the steps, I'm going to chat to you about a topic I wanted to talk about today, which is sustainability. How do I feel about sustainability? That's what I thought we could chat about while I'm doing an eye look with the infamous Naked 3. Star of the show is going to be Mugshot right here. That's one of my favorite shades in the palette. It's also one of the most used shades in the palette. But what I like to start off the look with is usually with Nooner, which is right here, which is one of the two mattes that you get in here. I like putting that in the crease, Mugshot all over the lid, more Mugshot on the lower lash line, and then I usually use Dust, which is a very light pink in the inner corner, and then I kind of call it a day. So let's chat a little bit about sustainability, because I think that if you just take my channel at face value, it looks like I don't care, because you see me do like makeup collection videos and fashion hauls and declutters and all that stuff. Like I said just now, my channel is about stuff. So that's going to be my main feature. Like, I talk about stuff on this channel, but that does mean that parts of my life don't really get addressed, because the parts that don't really suit those categories, I don't really go into it. Now we're a bit dark. So the reason why I don't really touch upon those things is because I know it's content that not everybody will watch. But for instance, well, apart from like doing groceries where I'm sort of forced to use single-use plastics, I don't use single-use plastics anymore at all. Like, I replaced all of my plastic containers in my home like years ago. I've been buying glass containers ever since. One of the very few plastic containers I still use is my lunchbox, which I've owned since high school. So that's been like a thing. And so it's not that I don't make sustainable choices. And actually, my take on sustainability is not one where, you know, it's the minimalist approach. And I actually have a bit of an issue with some of the ideas spouted by people who subscribe to minimalism. And it's not to say that I don't like minimalism and I don't like their approach, but here's the thing. I think you can still be sustainable and love the planet and take care of the planet without, you know, only owning 2 t-shirts. Because at the end of the day, if you only own 2 t-shirts, you're gonna have to do a lot of laundry, and you're also going to have to wash yourself a lot, meaning you have to use a lot of water. And if there's one thing that we need to be very careful with in our world, it's our intake of water. I don't understand people who are saying, oh, I'm vegan because I care about this and that, and the meat industry uses so much water, so I don't eat meat, and but then they do take 2 showers a day. And then I'm like, okay. Maybe you need to address that part too. So I feel that when it comes to these kind of things, as a consumer, you can never really get it, like you can never do it right. And I've read a lot of articles about like sustainable clothing and ethical clothing brands. And even if the clothing is made in a environmentally friendly way, then, you know, it's still not 100% certain that this brand will be like paying the people working in their factories fair wages. And it's like, if a brand does one thing right, then that doesn't mean that they get everything right. And so for me, just the fact that you are buying stuff is going to hurt the planet. It's not going to be ethical, period. If you buy stuff, which we all do, even if you're a minimalist, you may be buying less, but yeah. And I'm not saying that this is like an excuse for me to justify how I buy stuff, but for instance, what I try to be very, very careful about, I'm going to, by the way, go into limit now with so we've Looks Define Crease, which is 224, to really blend out this top bit here. And so the reason why I say that, is, for instance, one of the things I try to be very careful with is food waste. I live by myself, I'm single, and stores just don't cater to single people in the quantity of food that they sell. And that's one of the things that I also have found so like almost hurtful about like sustainability movements. It's like, oh, just go packaging free. I could fill up a jar with peanuts, but the problem is that they would go moldy before I could eat them all. Like, unless you're like a family of 4, those kind of sustainable alternatives, just if you can't, like, I can't buy anything in bulk because things will just go bad before, and I need to throw them away, and then it's just sitting on a shelf in my cupboard. So I kind of find sustainability also, like, what do you choose to get rid of? And that's one of the things that I've seen quite a lot of people do who then go minimalist, is that they declutter their entire house and they are left with like 2 things, and like, and now you've thrown all of that stuff away, which just ended up on a landfill. So I don't think that's very sustainable too. Like, yes, like it's almost like now you can feel better about yourself, but where did all of that stuff end up with? Well, like, where did it go? And I know that some people are really good at like repurposing stuff and doing all that, but that's definitely also what I do. Like, I have a shit ton of clothes, I'm not gonna lie, but I also make sure that that one blazer that I've owned for a decade, if it looks a bit weird, or if there's like a button that's dropped off, I'm not getting rid of it. If I love something, I will go through the effort of mending it. I'm very proud of myself now, because my mom taught me like basic sewing skills when I was a teenager, and I'm so grateful to her for this. Now I'm going in with Mugshot, by the way, which I'm applying with my Sigma E55 all over the lid. And so she also sort of like taught me like the basic skills of like using a sewing machine. And for my birthday in 2020, I asked my parents to help me to buy a sewing machine, which I just put to use in the Christmas break. And for instance, I bought a pair of black shorts this summer, and because I didn't own a pair of black shorts anymore, and they were super comfy, it was super hot, I was wearing them, and then the seam to sort of keep the inseam of the of the shorts in place just completely fell apart, and I had this like one short pant leg that was all of a sudden longer than the other. And I was like, I could throw these away and then buy a new pair of black shorts over the next summer season, or I could try to just buy some thread and use this sewing machine to put it back together. And that's what I did. So I had a very proud moment. It's not perfect, but I'm learning. So I'm happy with that. And I think that if you just have certain basic sewing skills, like if you can repair seams and if you can sew back on buttons, that's going to just amp up the longevity of clothing in your wardrobe for sure. And I think we should focus a lot more on that. So yeah, while I have a lot of clothing and a lot of the content I make is about new clothes that I buy and how I style them and doing all that, what I very often don't say is how old some of those clothes are. Because I'm someone who I'm just not prone to getting rid of things very quickly. If I declutter, very often, whether it's makeup or clothing, it can be stuff that I've had for years and years and years. I'm not someone who, like, I do revamp my wardrobe for sure, but I try to be very careful to not like get into that cycle of like, oh, declutter, buy new stuff, rinse, repeat over and over and over again. I try to be very careful. Like if I get rid of things, it's really things that I can no longer salvage. And it's sort of like also one of the reasons why I still want to do a video, I hope in the next couple of months, where I talk about some of like my favorite pieces from certain brands, because I feel that certain brands do certain things really well, whereas other things I would definitely stay away from. I mean, I like buying clothing from H&M, and I know they are blamed for greenwashing their like ethical like stuff and all that. Like they certainly do. They are very guilty. And for a brand as giant as H&M, I want them to be better. It's just that if I then look at brands that people say are more sustainable or ethical that I also have clothes from, something like Everlane, then if you really truly look very closely at what they do and you go beyond the marketing pitch, they're not really doing that much more than an H&M. And then I'm like, wait, what? So especially when it comes to the clothing industry, it's very difficult to tell as a consumer where everything came from. Also with makeup, for instance, Jen Loves Reviews did a video the other day, which I thought was really good, about cruelty-free makeup and what that actually means. And I was like, girl, I'm down with what you have to say, because she's right. Even if you buy only cruelty-free makeup, the only thing that means is that the products have not been tested on animals. Now, I live in the European Union. Any beauty product sold within the European market is not tested on animals. It's forbidden over here. Those products are not allowed to be sold. So unless I get it from outside of European borders, all of the like 75, maybe 90% of the products I buy have not been tested on animals because they're sold in my country. Yeah, which is why very often it can take a while for certain brands to come to my country, or at least to the European Union, because there are certain like quality standards that aren't in place in other countries that they then need to adhere to. So that's why sometimes it can take a while for brands to be sold here. But yeah, if I can buy it here in store, I know it's going to be cruelty-free. I know it's going to be cruelty-free. And I know that there's this policy of China, which is, according to Jen, she found that China may be changing this. As of this year, it should no longer be the case that China requires brands from outside of China with products manufactured out of China, outside of China, to have those tested on animals before they hit the Chinese market. But that does mean that, you know, if that's the case, and a lot of these like stipulations no longer go, but even if a product isn't tested on animals, then do you know where the source materials of your eyeshadow come from? Have you ever wondered about that? Because that is also something that I think we, you know, once you go down that rabbit hole of doing the right thing, I have found that it's incredibly tricky to do the right thing, simply because there are parts that are completely beyond your control as a consumer. I know that a lot of people will say like, oh, but you can vote with your dollar and, you know, not buy from brand so-and-so anymore. And I understand why people say that. Here's the thing. Any brand you give your dollar to has a problem. Any. It doesn't matter which one. It really doesn't matter. So for me, when it comes to sustainability, I try to make the choices that suit my lifestyle and that suit my morals, you could say, because I definitely do think about, I definitely do consider things like, do I still need this? Can I save this item in my wardrobe? I finally got rid of my first pair of jeans from Topshop. I bought that in either 2012 or 2013. Those jeans lasted me more than 8 years. Though those had definitely seen their best days. They were just falling down. The stretch had completely worn out. So I could no longer wear those. But yeah, I wore them for 8 years straight and I love them. So those definitely, you know, got me their money's worth. I'm not telling you what I'm doing. I put a little bit of Liar also on the inner third of my eye here. And now I'm going to go in with Dust on a Sigma E30. Oh, and we're getting very bright. I've got some sun coming in, so I think that when it comes to sustainability and the research that I've done, it's just incredibly like difficult to get it right. And even if you are a complete minimalist and you only buy from ethical brands, you still don't get it right. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try harder. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that, you know, we all need to make good choices for ourselves and for our living conditions. And that also means that we need to accept that being able to, like, being a minimalist and being able to buy packaging-free food is a privilege, because not everybody can afford that kind of stuff. So we need to sort of get off our high horse and demand from brands, I think, to do better and to be better. But we need to figure out how to do that in such a way that they will actually do it and that we can also still just live our lives. Because why should I, as a single consumer, go out of my way to try and find like packaging-free food and all these ethical brands that if I were to buy from a brand like Everlane, which is US based, and I don't think they have a European store, so how ethical is it to have that shipped all the way to Europe? That's another aspect to it then. So for me, there's always something that I go like, but is it then worth it in the end? Not only to me, but like in the larger scale, in the bigger picture of things. And I just think that's a really interesting food for thought kind of thing. But I just thought that because you don't really see me address these things, I thought I could in a chatty video with me like this, get ready with me. And I hope I made sense. I don't know. I was trying to do makeup and talk at the same time, which is not always successful. Catrice Shake, Fix, and Glow Spray to set everything down. And now I'm going to be applying mascara, which is still the YSL FFO Seal Volume Mascara. I quite like this actually. It looks pretty now that it's had a moment to dry down and do all that. And the Catrice Glam and Doll, because what else is new? We still have lips left, and I'm going to be using a Lisa Eldridge lipsticks because that was the only thing I put in my Shop My Stash in terms of lipstick was Lisa Eldridge's True Velvets. And I got some new shades, and the shade I was most nervous to use was this one, and it's Velvet Decade. and it's a chocolatey brown, and I wore it actually with this look the other day, and I thought it was really pretty. So the eye look is quite neutral, but I'm wearing quite a warm tone sweater. I've got quite a cool tone cheek look going on. We've got some sun coming in, so I'm going to sit like this in a minute. But yeah, I thought we could just see this one applied. Lisa Eldridge did a really cool video where she sort of goes through all of the different ways you can use this lipstick, which is what made me want to buy it and try it. Because this is not the kind of shade that I would reach for and go like, ooh, that's going to be like my all-time favorite universally flattering shade. And she was like selling it like that. So I was like, I want to try it. It's stunning. I really like this. It's definitely brown. So it's never going to be my ultimate favorite, but it's got a bit of red running through it, which is why it works on me. Okay, I've shifted the camera a little bit so we don't get so much glare from the sun coming in just now, so I can finish off this video so you can also have a better look at what this full makeup look looks like. I'm so thrilled that I went back to all of these favorites and that I got a chance to either get lots of use or even use up quite a few products. I'm pretty sure I can use up this before the end of the month, and I think also that setting spray because that's coming down low very quickly too. And yeah, just some playtime with a Naked 3, and I don't think I ever did a look with the Naked 3 on my channel. And it's one of my all-time favorite palettes, so I just wanted to show you. And as you can see on me, these like rosy taupes just work. And I think this is just a really nice neutrally look. I just do. I'm low-key in love with all of these products all over again. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week, so I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.